What is up, ladies and gentlemen, man here. Welcome back to the channel, welcome back to Vienna. I'm back from my little fasting retreat and I figured I still owe you the 75-hour dry fast summary video. And I did a lot of shots during the dry fast, documenting my experience. Every time I learned something new, I spoke about it into camera. But I figured when I add all these shots together, it will at least amount up to another 30-minute, 40-minute video or something like that. And I don't want to hammer this topic so hard again. So I decided I'd just watch all these shots, back to back myself and write down what's most important, basically. Write down some notes and present this to you then in some kind of dense summary video with only the most important points. I throw in some pre-roll shots here from actual footage from the fast here to, underline my experience a little bit, but to keep it short and simple and keep the density of content, so to say, at highest. Now, I want to talk about three things here in regards to this fast. And the first thing is the stats, okay, the statistics, what actually happened during the fast. Secondly, the process, okay, so how it felt, how it went. And thirdly, the aftermath. So how was the rehydration, how was the refeeding, and how was the reclimbing, actually, the training afterwards. So we're gonna get a little bit into all of that. First of all, let's start with the stats. I started this fast with a starting weight of 66.2 kilograms. I ended it after 75 hours with no water, with no food. That's over 3 days. 3 days would be 72 hours. I did shower though after around 30 hours. So that's important, because if I wouldn't even have showered, if I would have no contact with water at all, this would be classified as a so-called hard dry fast or a black fast, okay, where you don't even touch water. And the reason why this makes a difference is when you dry fast long enough, your water becomes a sponge, literally, okay? And if you lay down into a bath after like 100 hours dry fasted, you will notice a significant weight gain when you get out of this bath, because your body literally sucked in quite a lot of fluid from that bath, okay? So I did not do that. I showered simply once after 3 hours. Now I ended the dry fast after 75 hours at 60.1 kilograms, which means that I lost 6.1 kilograms in 75 hours. So that's roughly 2 kilograms per day, okay, which is kind of a rapid weight loss when you think about it. My starting body fat percentage, according to my impedance scale, which we already know is quite inaccurate, but anyway, I thought I'd track it anyway. My starting body fat was 10.1% and my ending body fat was 7.2%. So I lost 3% of body fat according to my scale. Now my scale does not only measure weight and body fat, but also something that's called hydration and something that's called muscle percentage. So how much percent of my body is actually water and how much percent of my body is actually muscle. And it spit out numbers. I started with 66.3% water, hydration, and ended at 68.6% of hydration. Now that's kind of interesting, because you would assume that during a dry fast you're actually losing hydration, right? But that's not so much the case, because actually you're losing water, you're actually losing fat, and this fat is not only getting turned into metabolic water, as we know from the oxygen in the air, but also this constructive tissue, fat cell does not contain only fat. That's also water in there and stuff. And if you break down fat cells like crazy, this sort of constructive water is set free. So you got an additional pool of water here available for your body to hydrate itself. So since I lost all this fat, if we assume that I only lost fat and kept my hydration percentage, so to say, or the amount of hydration the same, my percentage of hydration should actually have increased. And according to my scale, it also did. I went from 66.3% water to 68.6% water. Now, let's take a look at the muscle percentage. I started, according to my scale, at 49.0% muscle and ended at 50.6% muscle. So also my muscle percentage increased a little bit. that's kind of interesting as well, because you would assume that during a dry fast you're breaking down a lot of protein, because you're in, you're also using glyconeogenesis for energy creation and stuff like that. But yeah, not so much according to my scale. So if we would assume that everything else amount-wise stayed the same, also my muscle amount-wise stayed the same, absolute amount-wise, if we take into consideration that I lost fat, my muscle percentage should have increased a little bit. And according to my scale, it did. So that's all I find kind of interesting. I got into ketosis at about 29 hours in, when I was at 63.1 kilograms. Now, this is also quite interesting, because that's 7 hours later than during the 8B mission, where I dry fasted for 50 hours, as you remember. Now, why is that? Simply because during the 8B mission, I did a training session on my second day of fasting, and this I did not do during this 75-hour dry fast. Now, when we train, we empty our glycogen stores. The signal for your body as to when it should go into ketosis is essentially when your glycogen stores are empty, and especially the glycogen stores of your liver, okay? So if you're emptying out the glycogen stores of your liver, that's a signal for your body to switch into ketosis. And of course, this took quite a lot longer during this dry fast, because I didn't do this intense training session on my second day. So that explains that. Additionally, which is kind of interesting, I weighed 63.1 kilograms when entering ketosis, which is pretty much exactly 1 kilogram heavier than I was during the dry fast for the mission 8B. Now, why? I simply started at 1 kilogram heavier. Now, in this state, it tells me that I built up about 1 kilogram of fat extra compared to the mission 8B, because I lost all the additional water weight. I lost all the weight in my gut already. I had my bowel movements and stuff. So this is really just pure fat mass, pure living time in the form of fat mass on my body that we're looking at here. And it tells me also that my refeeding strategy worked out quite well, because I gained this kilogram of fat pretty much in 3 weeks, as a preparation for this longer dry fast now. So, and we will see that throughout all the fast, I was pretty much all the time just 1 kilogram heavier at any state compared to the 8B mission dry fast, okay? So apparently I was able to gain here 1 extra kilogram of fat. Now, so much for the stats of the dry fast. I want to say here again that my starting weight of 66.2 kilograms was the heaviest that I ever started fasting, and 60.1 kilograms was the lowest that I ever stopped fasting, okay? So never during all my water fasts, never during all my previous dry fasts, I had such an extreme drop-off, so to say. And this just goes to show again how freaking aggressive dry fasting is. And why is that? It's because not only is your body burning fat for energy, okay, it's also burning fat and other stuff, of course, proteins and your residual carbohydrates and stuff, to gain access to that metabolic water. As I demonstrated in a recent video yet again, we're gaining metabolic water by burning off macronutrients like carbs and fats, especially carbs. Actually, we're gaining even more metabolic water per calorie burned from carbs by a factor of roughly 1.3 compared to fats, okay? So this is all quite interesting. If you're interested more into the biochemistry and stuff like that, check out this recent video of mine, which is, I think, called, what was it called? Can we gain weight or losing or gaining weight via breathing? And I also did another thing, why dry fasting and stuff like that video, where I explain this as well. Now, secondly, let's move on to the process. How did it go? I started on Wednesday, 12 o'clock noon, and again at 66.2 kilograms. I finished my last meal basically, and I did before that, I did a nice parallel session. I did not want to train hard during the fast, so I did that before that. I learned a new move, the handstand push-up, quite cool move actually. And yeah, then I basically just fasted and went to bed. It was an easy night. But I had a massive weight loss, of course, in these first 12 hours already, because I got rid of a lot of water weight in my gut as well, you know, a lot of gut weight from my last meal and stuff. So that I went to sleep basically already at 64.7 kilograms, which is 1.5 kilograms lighter already than I started. But that's of course a lot of, as I said, gut weight and stuff like that. So next day, Thursday, I got up, did a video in the forest down there about this truth versus mindset topic. And then I did a little bit of stretching, and I also did the bridge a little bit. And there I already noticed how the flexibility increased. Now, this is an interesting thing that I noticed because I'm stretching a lot actually, how fasting increases your flexibility, okay? And I assume that is because it could be of two reasons or a mixture of the two. First of all, you're emptying your glycogen stores in your muscles. And it could be that your glycogen stores, if you're having a lot of glycogen in your muscles, it makes them a little bit stiffer, okay? This is one possibility. The other possibility is that your inflammation goes down rapidly when you're fasting. And inflammation could yet again be something that makes your muscles a little bit stiffer. And once your inflammation is gone, basically they are loosening up and become really soft and stuff. And this is of course advantageous when it comes to stretching and stuff like that, okay? Anyway, flexibility on point, going up when fasted. Now, after that, I did a little bit of computer work, you know, just soft impact stuff, a lot of brain work, you know, which costs a lot of calories as well, but is not as exhausting as hard training, of course. And then I did also an archery session. Now, that was kind of interesting as well, because the consistency, you know, archery is not a very strenuous sport when it comes to muscle work and stuff like that, but more of a consistency sport, you know, and doing everything the same all the time, the repetitive stuff, okay? So a lot of brainy stuff actually again, and that worked really well. The consistency during this session was really nice, but I felt after 3-4 volleys only that already my muscles, you know, from pulling the bow, they were empty already and tired, and they started shaking and stuff, okay? And then the consistency fell off again. So I hit a wall there, and this is of course explainable because my glycogen stores in my muscles were completely empty and emptied quickly, so to say, you know, in this fasted state. As I also started tracking ketosis on this second day, on the Thursday. That's why I found out that at roughly 29 hours in, at 63.1 kilograms, I hit ketosis because my ketosis strips, my keto sticks basically that I dumped into my urine, showed ketones. Now again, as I said, you can track your ketones in your urine because the kidneys are not very good at reabsorbing ketone bodies into your bloodstream, okay? So that's kind of interesting to see when you're hitting ketosis, again at 29 hours in. Now, Friday, the third day, it was a rough night, the night on Friday, I gotta say that. Always when you're hitting ketosis, something additionally that happens is that your fight or flight hormones are cranked up because your body realizes, okay, we're tapping into our resources here. You gotta look for food, bro. Look for food, bro, okay? So your fight or flight hormones are cranked up, and you're actually having quite a lot of energy, you know, you're having this awakeness, this wake energy, but you're not having a lot of energy in your muscles. So it's a little bit of a weird state. Your muscles feel kind of sluggish, and you know, you have this kind of sluggish body feeling, but at the same time your mentality is really awake from these fight or flight hormones. And that's why I couldn't sleep really a lot in the night on Friday. And also a lot of secondary, I always call it secondary digestion, was going on, okay? When your body is realizing, oh, we're tapping into the resources, it takes a look again at your digestion and sees, I think, if there's something still in there, some calories, you know, that it can get access to, some residual fluids that it can use, you know, to hydrate the body and stuff. So a lot of grumbling and stuff like that in my gut. Could also be that there is some sort of bacterial reaction or something like that, you know, when you have multiple strains of bacteria inside and they don't fight each other as long as there's food, you know. And if there's a stop in food supply or something, they start fighting each other because they still have to eat. Could also have something to do with parasites or stuff like that, who are dependent on a constant glucose, especially carbohydrate supply, and once that is shutting off, they start to look for alternative food sources and start eating bacteria and stuff like that. Or who knows what's going on down there, but there's especially something going on. And yeah, this is what I call secondary digestion. I felt that in the night on Friday. Now, on 2 o'clock in the afternoon, 2 in the PM, I actually hit my previous record of 50 hours dry fasted that I did in the Mission 8B. And I still had, that was at around 61.7 kilograms, which is still 1 kilo more than I had in the same time in the Mission 8B. So again, that goes to show I had just 1 kilogram more of fat. Now, from there on, we stepped onto new territory, and I didn't really feel that bad, I have to say. This night on Friday was the worst, and then it got better really, really quickly again, with the soft, empty muscles, kind of sluggish, but I didn't have any headache, or I didn't have any super dry mouth or anything. This is another point that I want to hit here real quickly. The dry mouth only came at around 60 hours in or stuff. Until then, I actually had quite a lot of saliva in my mouth all the time, and I think this is because the body starts recycling saliva all the time, okay? So you get saliva, you swallow that down because you're a little bit thirsty all the time, you're not drinking anything, and then it comes back, so the body really cycles your saliva through. Now, where you get dry is your vocal cords, actually. So I noticed that I couldn't really talk that well anymore after a lot of dry fasting, because this is stuff that gets quite dry. And of course, this is because your body wants to prevent losing moisture through breathing, okay? But apparently it's not so considered about the saliva and the moisture in your mouth or stuff like that. Yeah, did a lot of computer work again, did some groceries for coming off the fast, which was basically mineral water and lemons, and also some elbow stretching actually. And then the night on Saturday, the fourth day, the last day, was actually quite good again. And also on Saturday I felt great. Now, I took a body shot from when I started the fast, which was on Wednesday, and then I took a body shot again at 75 hours in when I ended the fast on Saturday. So I should be able to show you this here somewhere, or I do it as pre-roll footage, who knows. And yeah, I felt great on Saturday. I have to say the hours from 60 to 75 were great. I didn't feel very bad, no headache or anything. I never have headaches when I fast. I just say this all the time because I know that a lot of people get headaches, especially on dry fasts, which might have something to do with the hydration or the little bit of detox or stuff like that. I also wanted to check on Saturday if my kidneys kind of got more efficient in reabsorbing ketones. That I simply did that by testing my urine again for ketones. I wanted to see if the ketone content of my urine got lower again, because I knew I still was in full ketosis, obviously, because I didn't eat anything. But when you're pissing out ketones, you're essentially pissing out energy. It's just like when you're diabetic and you're pissing out sugar, okay? If you're having really high blood sugar levels and you're pissing it out because your kidney can't reabsorb it anymore. Now, the thing is, your body actually does not want to piss out energy, because energy is lifetime without eating, okay? So it actually, the ideal kidney would reabsorb all these ketones into the body to make it available for energy, for fat burning basically, or for burning in your brain. But the thing is, so you would expect that after a long enough period of fasting, your kidneys would kind of adapt to that and reabsorb more ketones, because, as I said, it's additional lifetime. So I wanted to test that, and I found out that this was still not occurring with my piss, okay? It was still full of ketones. The ketone density was as high as it gets. So yeah, no real results there. But I think if you're fasting long enough, maybe on water or stuff, because of course you can go a lot longer on water than dry, you would get at least at some point into that state where your kidneys adapt and get back a lot more ketones. The rehydration process at 75 hours in was also kind of interesting. I bumped up immediately to 1 kilogram. So from the 60.1 where I ended, I got up to 61 point something quite instantly. And then I stayed there, you know. I did not have more thirst or anything, but I stayed there and I took again just a very little piss, like 100 grams or stuff, and kept kind of at this state, drinking a little bit, pissing a little bit. But it pumped up to 1 kilogram and kind of stayed there, okay? And I can also show you this on my little diagram that I drew. I hope you can see that. We are here at rehydrating, the rehydration process. And as you can see, I'm hopping up here again and just staying there pretty much until a lot later when I'm hopping up again. And this is when I refed, okay? Refeeding, of course, puts a lot of weight into your gut again, and this is actually what bounces you back to 62 kilograms or something then in my case. So that's how the rehydration and the refeeding process went. Now, the thing is, and this is where it gets interesting, because a lot of people mention, is this healthy, you know, aren't you losing muscle when you fast like this? And I gotta say, something that I learned very recently from Jason Fung. This is a doctor who promotes fasting a lot as well and does a lot of fasting with his patients. In case you want to check him out, he's also got a lot of amazing interviews on YouTube. This is a guy who's really a specialist of the field. I recommend you to check him out, Jason Fung. He taught me recently during one of these interviews that not only is your body using amino acids as a substance for gluconeogenesis, okay, when you're fasting, but also actually glycerol, okay? And glycerol is kind of the backbone of fat molecules. If you're burning fat, you're releasing at the same time as a byproduct a lot of glycerol, and this glycerol can actually be used by your body for gluconeogenesis to generate additional sugar. Because the thing is, if you're fasting, your body always upholds a little bit of a blood sugar level, okay? Because there are tissues in the body that need sugar, especially the brain and also some other tiny stuff, okay? So that's kind of interesting because that reduces the strain or the stress, I would say, on gluconeogenesis via amino acids, okay, that you literally would burn off in form of muscles or other bad cells, you know, cancer cells and stuff like that, unnecessary cells that hold protein, which can be used for gluconeogenesis. So essentially what I want to say is, no, you're not burning a lot of muscle during fasting actually, except for when you go so long that you're emptying your fat stores completely. And I've talked about in this recent video where I talked about breathing in a fasted state and how you gain or lose weight by doing that. Of course, the things change once you've emptied completely your fat stores, but I did not go that far so far, okay? Even for me, who starts at a quite low body fat percentage of 10%, I needed to fast longer than 3 days dry to even, you know, completely empty my fat stores. If I would do that, of course, the percentage of gluconeogenesis of my total energy supply would go up. And at some point, I should measure a dramatic loss in weight and also in available energy, because gluconeogenesis is quite inefficient, yeah? But that was kind of interesting to see that glycerol can be used as a substrate for gluconeogenesis as well. And if you're losing a lot of fat during fasting, well, you get a lot of glycerol. So gluconeogenesis is therefore not a real problem, you know, when you're in pure fat metabolism. Another thing that I want to mention, and this is why I did another body shot 3 days after refeeding actually, is growth hormone. And a lot of people are talking about growth hormone, you know, especially all these intermittent fasting bodybuilders and stuff like that. They say, you know, the fasting is so great because of the growth hormone and stuff. And I always thought, yeah, come on, you're talking yourself into something here because you just wanna grow and be big and stuff like that, okay? But I gotta say, I have the feeling that the growth hormone is somehow real. I was really, really thin and really small feeling directly after the fast. And then I started refeeding and I didn't start training, okay? I was still nowhere near any climbing hold or any parallel session or stuff like that. I just wanted to get my full week of rest in, and I didn't train. But despite that, I could literally feel how my muscles filled up again, okay? Of course, the glycogen stores got built back up, but also I did not feel a lot smaller or any less athletic or stuff like that after my refeed. And I will try to put all three body shots here in comparison so that they can make your own opinion about that. But yeah, that's what I want to say, I think. And this makes sense from an evolutionary point of view, because of course your body has no choice. A little bit of muscle is getting burned off during prolonged fasting, okay? But that's why you get a boost in growth hormone right afterwards, because as soon as you start eating again, you're gaining this muscle back very quickly in a matter of days. And this is how it literally felt for me. I didn't train anything or stuff like that, but you get this, there is a supposed boost in testosterone and growth hormone after a fasting, and I believe this is because your body has no choice to burn off a little bit of muscle during the fast, but to gain it back as quickly as possible as soon as you start eating again, you get this boost in growth hormone and testosterone. And I have the feeling that I felt that a little bit because I didn't train anything, but I filled up quite quickly after the fast again. So this was really fascinating. Would be interesting to see how that works with intermittent fasting and prolonged fasting on water and stuff like that. But yeah, here again, so the body likes contrast, in my opinion. Yeah, the body likes phases of feeding and phases of fasting. I think the worst thing that you can do is actually eat at a caloric deficit. Okay, because when you're eating, you're still keeping your insulin high, which means that you can't really tap into your fat metabolism, but you don't eat enough for a full calorie count, so your body's gotta make up the calories from somewhere else, but it can't go into the fat because the insulin is still high, and then it has to go into gluconeogenesis, okay, because there is no other option. And now this could explain why eating at a caloric deficit is pretty catabolic and also leads to metabolic damage, okay? Because your body simply reduces your BMR, your basal metabolic rate, when you giving it no other choice, okay? But this is actually a subject for another video that's also very interesting, the whole connection between metabolic damage and eating at a caloric deficit. Now, I think that fasting actually does not damage your metabolism in any way. Actually, and this is something that I learned from Jason Fung yet again recently, your BMR, your basal metabolic rate, does not drop when you fast. It's actually increasing. And this has to do with the increased fight or flight hormones that are getting released during fasting, which of course want you to look for food. And they can't take away energy from your body when you have to look for food, okay? Yeah, all these things. I think I'm through. I think that's all I wanted to say. This video is getting long again anyway. This is the summary video of this recent 75-hour dry fast. It was a very interesting experience. Please, I want to mention here one more time, if you're trying anything of this stuff yourself, please consult your local professional drug dealer before you do anything that I try here. 75 hours dry are no joke, okay? Ease yourself into it. Do shorter water fasts, do shorter dry fasts first before you try anything like that. Okay, that being said, thank you so much for your interest in this subject. I'm not gonna hammer it a lot more for now, at least. I want to get back into hard training again, and actually I did already my first session again yesterday, and I didn't feel bad at all. It didn't feel bad at all. This is yet again, my athleticism did not diminish during this fast and the recovery of it. This is something that's so cool about dry fasting. Everything goes so fast, everything goes so quickly. 3 days, boom, all your weight is off, all the cleaning is done, then you rehydrate, refeed, boom, and 3 days later, you know, maybe 7 days in total, you're basically restored and can start training again. So that's a really interesting experience, a really cool strategy, I think, to clean up the body from time to time. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope you're having a great time yourself. Have a good training, keep crushing, and I'll see you soon.